You are a fundamentally self-absorbed and shallow person who would inflict untold pain and suffering on other human beings just because you're bored and want to feel something. For our daily cancellation today, we return to a very familiar genre of TikTok video, the genre where women, in an effort to be open and vulnerable, accidentally reveal themselves to be horrific, narcissistic, sociopath monsters. This time, it's a woman who, she tells us, just recently informed her husband of 10 years and father to her 3 children that she wants a divorce. Now, she hasn't actually decided for sure that she'll go through with it, she says. She's hoping that she can be talked out of it, I guess, but she's strongly considering it anyway, even though her husband, according to her, is a perfect man. He's awesome, he's amazing, he's a great guy, great father, great husband. So naturally, she's strongly tempted to rip his life apart and destroy their family. As a side note, I don't know this woman's name. I briefly tried to Google it. I never found her name and I didn't spend that long, admittedly, but I discovered, unsurprisingly, that when you Google wife divorcing perfect husband, you get thousands of hits. I mean, thousands of videos and Reddit posts and message board posts and Cosmo articles about women and by women divorcing their perfect husbands. So this is not an isolated phenomenon, which is probably why this woman felt so comfortable sharing this. And so here's a clip. Watch.
I don't know if I'm going to actually post this because this is super vulnerable for me and I'm a pretty open person. But earlier this year, I told my husband I wanted a divorce. And this would probably shock a lot of my friends and my family because I hadn't told anybody, okay? I walked myself through the logistics of where would I live, how would we split the time with the kids, who gets the dog, where all of those things, okay? Had a full breakdown. I feel like I have been searching for something in my relationship that we don't have for the whole time we've been married, which has been 10 years. There is not a single thing about my husband in and of himself that I do not love. Let me be very clear about that. He is the most self-disciplined, loyal, hardworking, good person that you could meet on this planet. And that is probably the reason why I have not left. Okay. Our relationship and what my expectations are for my marriage and what they always have been are not met, right? Which I don't know if anybody's are. The reason that pushed me to even bring up divorce and talk about it was the fact that I feel like I can't be myself with my husband. And it's really confusing because I'm 32 years old. I am a mom of 3 and I still don't know who I am. So for me to be like, oh, I can't be myself or you don't love me for who I am isn't really fair because I don't know who I am. I'm figuring that out every day.
Well, I can clear that up for you, ma'am. You are a fundamentally self-absorbed and shallow person who would inflict untold pain and suffering on other human beings just because you're bored and want to feel something, which puts you on the same moral plane as like a serial killer or school shooter. The video goes on like this for another few minutes while she rambles about her life story. I won't make you listen to any more of it. Just to summarize, she and her husband are planning to go to Cabo for their 10-year anniversary in a few months, where they're supposed to renew their vows. And she's having trouble writing her vows because it's difficult to write anything down when you have your head shoved so far up your own ass. She doesn't say it quite like that. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the idea. Anyway, she's brought up this whole problem to her husband, but she's frustrated that nothing has changed. Even though she doesn't know what should change or if anything at all should change or what sort of changes he could make in any case, considering he's already perfect, according to her, still she's unhappy. And that must be his fault or someone's fault, just not her fault. And she's not giving up just yet. She's still in the marriage because her husband is perfect after all. And he better stay that way. God forbid he ever become like 1% less than perfect. That'll probably be the end of everything. This man who has done everything right is on very thin ice somehow. And that about sums up this woman's insufferable monologue. Now, I want to respond to this with 2 pieces of advice. Some advice for this woman and any woman like her, and some advice for men who are tempted to give up on marriage for fear of ending up with this woman or any woman like her. Let me start by by speaking to the woman in the video who says that she's contemplating divorce of her husband of 10 years, even though he's perfect and hasn't done anything wrong at all. And I'll say to her, you know, I'm sure you've gotten a lot of advice from people close to you, friends, relatives, even your husband. And I'm just as sure that all of the advice is really bad, because they're all probably assuring you that your feelings are valid, that you shouldn't be ashamed of feeling the way you do, and that you should take some time to figure yourself out, etc., and so on. Well, that is all wrong. Your feelings, ma'am, are not valid, and you should be ashamed of them. The very last thing you need to do on this earth is spend even one more second trying to figure yourself out. That's all you've done with your life up until this point, and look where it's got you. Besides, all this "I don't know myself" crap is all just cope anyway. It's a cover story. It's an excuse. The truth, and you know this, we all do, is that you're actually just bored and you're looking for some kind of justification, rationalization to abandon your marriage and sleep around for a few years until you get bored of that also and marry somebody else, until you also grow tired of that person, and the cycle will repeat, getting sadder and more pathetic each time as you get older and grayer with age, before dying in a nursing home and being memorialized at a sparsely attended funeral where your children give you polite and perfunctory eulogies and then bury you under a tombstone they bought at a bargain to mark a grave they will never visit. That's the rather bleak path that you are headed down. And it's paradoxically both very well trodden and very lonely. But there is a way off of it, fortunately. It's simple. It's not complicated, though it will be difficult for someone who is pathologically selfish like you. But there's a word for this path. It's called love. And love is three things. It's an act, it's a choice, and it's an obligation. Love is not a feeling. There is a feeling properly attached to love, which is called affection. And that's the feeling that it sounds like you're missing, which doesn't surprise me. I'm going to guess, I'm going to read your mind here. You probably don't have a lot of affection for anyone in your life. I bet there are all kinds of feelings that you should feel, but you don't. I bet you've already gone to psychiatrists and got put on a bunch of drugs and anti-anxiety beds for this problem, haven't you? But it hasn't solved it. I mean, you're probably the kind of person who somehow doesn't feel awe and wonder when you look up at the sky at night. You probably don't feel the appropriate amount of anger and outrage that you should feel when you hear about criminals committing acts of violence against innocent people. All of your feelings towards your husband or anything else or anyone else are numbed and deadened by your selfish preoccupations. Self-absorption has that effect. You never feel what you should feel because you're never fully present in any moment or fully invested in any relationship. You're always just thinking about yourself. Narcissism is a black hole inside you that sucks all the light and happiness into it so that nothing can escape. More than 90% of Americans don't get enough fruits, vegetables, and fiber in their diet. We're all basically walking nutritional disasters. That's where Balance of Nature supplements come in. These aren't your typical synthetic vitamins with names you can't pronounce. We're talking about 47 whole ingredients, 16 fruits, 15 vegetables, plus spices and fibers. Real stuff like wild blueberries, kale, turmeric, and shiitake mushrooms. I've taken these fruits, veggies, supplements for a while now, and honestly, it's nice knowing that I'm getting that variety without having to turn my kitchen into a produce section. It's especially handy to have while traveling as well. Plus, their fiber and spice blend is the only supplement on the market combining 12 spices with 4 whole fibers. Look, I'm not saying this replaces eating actual vegetables. I'm not a monster, but when life gets crazy and your diet consists mainly of whatever doesn't require cooking, I've been there plenty of times. It's nice knowing you're still getting healthy ingredients with Balance of Nature. They're vegan, which is really important to me, kosher, gluten-free, and made with zero artificial anything. Just nature doing what nature does best. Go to balanceofnature.com, use promo code Walsh for 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. Plus, get a free bottle of fiber and spice. That's balanceofnature.com, promo code Walsh. But even so, you could still love your husband. Love is a thing you choose to do. It is also an obligation. It is your duty to love your family. You owe it to them. They have a moral right to your love. That's the promise you make when you get married and start a family. You promise to love them, starting with your husband, which means staying faithful to him, serving him, caring for him, making sacrifices for him, respecting him. You can and should do all of that, regardless of how you happen to be feeling at any given moment. Now, you may feel like you don't know yourself or whatever nonsense you picked up from self-help audiobooks you listen to while you do yoga, but you can still perform the act of love. You can still serve and honor your husband. You can feel however you feel while you do it, but you can still do it. And here's the great thing. If you get into the habit of practicing love, engaging in it, performing it actively, then you will find that without even trying, the feelings of affection will come. They flow out of these acts. Act like you love him, and you will love him because love is action. The action, the act of focusing on and serving someone other than yourself will give rise to the emotions that you want. Action before emotion. That is the recipe. Now, any happily married person and happy parent sees this recipe at work every day in big and small ways. I love my family. I also feel deep affection for them. But there are times when I'm in a bad mood and I just want to be left alone, right? I mean, everyone has those days. And I was feeling that way recently when my son came into the room and he asked me if I wanted to play basketball with him. And I didn't feel like it at the time. I didn't feel like it. My emotions weren't, my heart wasn't in it, right? But I said yes anyway, because I knew that he was looking for some one-on-one bonding time and I didn't want to deprive him of that. And so I went out. I didn't feel like it. My feelings weren't there, right? I didn't feel like doing it. I went out. It took about 5 minutes of playing before I was actually having a good time. And not only doing something loving for my son by spending time with him, but also enjoying the time that I was spending with him. So the action, then the feeling. Now, if I had decided to go sit on the couch and brood, if I had said, no, I'm just not in the right headspace right now, give me some time. Just sit there and kind of ruminate until I felt like spending time with my son, then I wouldn't have spent any time with him. Because you can't generate feelings by just ruminating them into existence like that. Go do the thing, act in a loving and devoted way, and let the feelings come. That's my advice to you. Now, I have no faith that my advice will be heeded, but there it is. That's the answer. And what it tells you, by the way, is that if you still decide to get divorced, there's no excuse. That was a choice you made. You are not a victim here. Okay, you can't just say, oh, I can't do it. I feel that love just left. The love, I fell out of love. Love is not something that you fall into like a puddle. You don't fall into it. You can't fall out of it. You choose to do it or you don't. Now, moving on to the second group, I have heard from a number of men who've said that this woman is the reason why my pro-marriage takes are out of touch and irrelevant. As one red pill influencer posted, hey, Matt Walsh or Jordan Peterson, what's your advice to hedge against women like this that just get bored and want to divorce rape a man for no reason? And there were a lot of similar questions in my inbox and mentions this weekend, all relating to this video, and I'm happy to answer them. For any man who wants to avoid ending up with a woman like this, my advice, it's very simple. I'm a simple man. My advice is, if you don't want to end up married to a woman like this, is don't marry a woman like this. Okay, this is a selfish and shallow person. The chances are extremely high that she was like that when they met. I know of very few people who have turned into narcissistic jerks out of nowhere. Most narcissistic jerks have been that way their entire adult lives and before. So my primary answer is to look out for the profoundly obvious warning signs of a narcissistic jerk and simply don't marry that kind of person. What are the warning signs? Well, there are a bunch. Does she only ever talk about herself? Does she fail to show genuine interest in you and your life and your thoughts and ideas? Is she rude and bossy and overbearing to you or to other people in her life? Is she cruel? Is she gossipy? Does she seem to be locked in constant feuds with her family and friends and coworkers? Is she incapable of having a conversation about anything substantive or meaningful? Now, if she's checking yes on all of those boxes, or most of them, or really any of them, frankly, then don't marry her. Don't date her. Don't waste any more of your time speaking to her or thinking about her. Dump her and move on with your life. These kinds of people, women or men, are, in almost all cases, very easy to detect. Most of the time, it takes about 30 seconds of conversation. And if they manage to fool you for 30 seconds, they almost certainly aren't going to keep it up for an entire week or month or 2 months. On average, couples date for over 2 years before they get engaged, which I think is too long. I don't think you need that long, but that's the average. And then the average engagement is another 18 months. So that's 3.5 years. Okay? Like, if they can fool you for 3.5 years and you never noticed that the woman is like this, well, then that means that you are extremely unobservant. I mean, it would take a manipulative genius and a supremely talented Daniel Day-Lewis level actor to put up a convincing front as a deep, thoughtful, kind, and affectionate person for all that time, all the while concealing their true, shallow, and selfish nature. Now, I have known maybe 1 or 2 people like that in my entire life. Like the kind of person where, okay, I know this person is like a scumbag, but they're able to fool everyone forever. It seems like rarely do you come across somebody like that. They exist, but every other shallow, selfish person I've ever met, I could identify as such within about 5 minutes. If it even took that long. Usually 5 seconds. Okay, if I ran into that woman on the street, talked to her for 10, 20 seconds. I know what you're all about. Now, I don't know the woman in the video. I don't even know her name, but I've seen enough to say that she is no manipulative genius. Now, she may be manipulative, but she's not a genius. I put the chances at like 1% or lower that this woman wasn't incredibly shallow and self-absorbed when they were dating. I don't think I've ever in my life met anyone who was like this woman at 32, but wasn't the same way or worse at 22. Not saying it's impossible. It's just very rare. Human beings don't work that way generally. So why do some men end up with horrible women? Well, because in most cases, they choose to marry horrible women. Why would a man make that choice? It's not hard to understand. She's attractive. He's lonely. She's giving him attention. He overlooks all the red flags. That's like all there is to it most of the time. It's understandable on a human level, but it's a bad choice. And my solution for young single guys is that they shouldn't make that kind of choice. Don't marry a woman like that. And despite what you may have heard, they're not all like that. Anyone telling you otherwise is selling you despair and failure. And those people, along with this woman in the video, and any woman like her, are all today canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.